Tevez da solo, Tevez al limite dell'area, ma fuori tutti, Tevez, si apre la porta, Tevez, gol, da dietro, Pirlo dentro,
All right, buongiorno bianconeri. Welcome back to the All Juve Cast channel. We had an impromptu live yesterday, and I got a lot off my chest, and it is causing a little bit of a stir on Twitter with some of the things I said, mainly this, where Alex P was behind me. Looks like he still is. Freeze Serie A. So we're definitely going to get Lucci and Omer today. I'm pumped these guys are joining me because they weren't a part of the show yesterday, but we will get into some more thoughts as the aftermath of this is far from over. Today, obviously, news breaking through. We have the match against Atalanta, which every match now is amplified, okay? So I was speaking to this whole freezing of Serie A and everything yesterday, and I made it known on Twitter yesterday when Anth posted the clip and everything. I'm not kidding when I say this, that Serie A cannot afford to put an asterisk next to any championships here on out. And not only that, but like we'll get into some more details today about like the precedent they set dating back to 2004 and then 2010 and how it's just not lining up now. And I'll tell you what, if that image from Gravina's wife, okay, the head of FIGC, turns out to be real, and that was a real post, I hope it was real, because Juve could just use it to say, look at this absolute joke. But that's a whole separate note. But I'm telling you, it's not making sense right now. Okay, now I know there are some, and even some Juventini that are still saying, look, your entire board resigned, like they knew what was coming down the pipe and whatnot, but that doesn't change the precedent that they're going against and everything. So before we kick things off, just say what's up to everybody in the live chat and everything as everyone's starting to roll through and trickle on here. Okay, good morning. Forza Juve from Bob Yogasal, in spite of everything, regardless and ongoing anything, +3 today. Very, very important. All our matches are amplified now. This is another problem why I have. Good morning, Vito. Good morning to Wayne out here. This is another problem I have. This 15-point deduction, whatever, puts added pressure on Juventus while things are still in limbo. So you want to deduct 15 points and wait until April to have things resolved while we face all the pressure. We face all the heat and everything gets poured onto the coach and the players. Bullshit. Nonsense. Especially when I'm sure you're talking about the open market. There are no charts. There are no guides what you can and can't sell players for. Cooking the books. The last team to not have their books lined up was 2018, and it was Inter. They were given an extended period of time. Or what were they going to face? Point deduction? Relegation? No, a fine. Okay? Make it make sense. It's not making sense. Okay? Serie A can't afford this. It's nonsense. So for me now, and I've been keeping the receipts out there on Twitter because Napoli's getting dragged into this now with that Osimhen deal. But not only that, if you're telling me you're going to go back and you're going to find, Napoli that's up there at 437 million euros of plusvalenza in the past 10 years, you're going to tell me all their capital is going to line up, all their values on players? No, but it doesn't matter, because there are no charts and guidelines. Transfermarket.com is not a source of what teams need to be selling players for. People need to understand that, okay? Open and free dealings. Not only that, okay? Last one I'm going to put out there. This is it. It's like a loophole, but it isn't a loophole. Unless you have clear and definitive rules of values that teams want to sell players for, you can't punish teams for doing that. Not only this, when a team does that, what are they doing? They're giving themselves capital so that they can do what? Spend in the next mercado on what? Players that are probably going to have inflated rates. So it's just this one big cycle because the market is open and free dealings. The whole thing is a joke, and Serie A can't afford it. And do you think that the other leagues are going to give a shit about the truth and the details and what? No, they're going to shit on this league to push their product even further. Serie A is a fucking joke. Anyways, that's to further my point. Lucci, Omar, you guys weren't on with us today. I want to get your thoughts, and you guys can kind of dive in on how you've been feeling, how you see it. Do you agree with me? Is there something you disagree with? Go ahead, and Lucci, why don't you kick us off?
Well, it's a lot to digest over the past couple of days, that's for sure.
Yeah.
The most frustrating part, I think, is not only the point deduction and how, like, we don't even know the full details on how they came to this conclusion. We got to wait another 8 days or whatever it is to see all the details. But what I don't understand is that if two teams are agreeing to a deal, whether that price is inflated or not, because literally everything in this world is inflated right now, how can you punish just one team, or how can you say the price is not accurate if one team is willing to pay that price? That's what I don't understand, how you can punish one team, not the other who's involved in the deal, because not one team can make a deal with themselves. So where's the consistency? How are we coming to this conclusion, this punishment, when probably every team in the league, if not in other leagues, do it too? Like Serie A has, ever since the 90s or whatever, late 90s, mid 90s, has just continued to do things backwards. And this further proves things that why Serie A is not viewed as one of the top leagues anymore. It's, the marketing, the media, like everything's a joke. And now this is just going to hurt Serie A even more. Like you said, other leagues are going to think we're a joke. It's embarrassing.
Yeah. Omer.
It's hard to put everything out like in a few short sentences because it dates, a while back. But just like we've talked in the green room, the guys who are giving us shit over all of this, the guys who are telling us we're not okay, are the most despicable and hypocritical criminal organizations out there in the world, like UEFA and like FIGC, who don't deal with racism, who don't allow teams to invest in their youth system and their stadiums, and then they go and cry that the Italian team isn't in the World Cup twice in a row. And these are the guys who are telling us we are not okay because a few millions here and there, which everyone does. But the feeling is like we were all up in arms back when we had that refereeing call against Salernitana, and FIGC said you ain't seen nothing yet. So this is the time to prove what the power of Juve and Juventus fans around Italy and the world is, and how much this league is attractive and how it looks without Juve. So whatever you can do to support that, do it.
Yeah, and so far it looks like we have DAZN memberships being canceled, 13,000 in 24 hours or something. As far as just DAZN alone. Of course, there's Fubo TV for us here in Canada. There's whatever. I mean, that's one way of doing it. The Serie A social media sites, don't have a follower count on what they're losing, but everything Serie A on Instagram, Twitter, whatnot is being unfollowed. We'll see kind of the effects and aftermath of that as it goes. There's talk about protests from the fans before this game today against Atalanta. I think now's also the point of when we talk about the ultras and them, like that's a group that travels with the club, travels game to game and whatnot, and maybe rattle some cages and some protests at FIGC head offices and stuff like that. Like, I mean, it's whatever we can do as fans, but ultimately the biggest problem I have, and what a lot of fans out there don't understand, especially fans of the rivals, is that the precedent is like set. It was set at fines and everything. And even dating back then, the whole thing was a mess, because what you simply cannot tell somebody what their asset is worth. So it is what it is. It is what it is. But nonetheless, here we are, and we got a game today. All the matches get again. all the matches are increasingly important now, and the pressure this puts on Max Allegri, the players, and everything, right? So it's going to be an interesting follow-up to the season. If we're talking about the appeals and everything like that, okay, let's talk about the appeals. Let's talk about the appeals here. What do you think is going to actually come of any of these appeals? Do you think that we're going to get this reduced or anything like that? Honestly.
Like, it's tough to say. We don't even know what their evidence is yet. Like, maybe the lawyers, like the Juve lawyers, already know what the issues are and how they're going to appeal it, but it's tough for us to say. We don't know any of the details. We're just saying, this is coming out when they asked for 9 points originally, they're coming out with 15 now. So, like, who knows, man? This league is upside down, backwards, sideways. Like, who knows what can happen? We could maybe lose another 5 points within the next month at this point. Who knows?
Yeah,
it's hard to be too positive about it, because once again, they got this verdict out of basically nothing, out of just people, out of some ridiculous case that he presented. And who knows how ridiculous it can be when we reach April, and what evidence will come to light, and what they'll make do with just the little that they have, because they have achieved quite a lot with an absolutely ludicrous case and verdict. So it's hard to stay positive regarding the appeal, but let's see. I'm liking so far the quietness from the board. They haven't been interviewed, they haven't done anything. They usually, when this stuff happen, everyone talks, but they're quiet, and I assume they're working backstage and preparing their case. And so let's see how it unfolds, like Lucci said.
Yeah, and the strange part is, like, I mean, if the prosecutor's pushing for 9 and then it gets, like, overruled to 15,
Like, what?
but even the fact of this being points, again, when you've set a precedence historically of it being fines and bans to the sporting directors and those key figures involved, the whole thing reeks, you guys. Like, it reeks. So I'm not getting my hopes up on appeals or anything. I'm hoping that overall, and again, once they get these other teams involved, what did I say yesterday? Before we even started hearing rumblings about these 5 teams that were going to get thrown into the mix, I knew Napoli would be one of them. And you can bet your ass Roma's going to be up there. These teams that are at the top for Serie A in terms of plus Valenza over the past 10 years, they're going to be brought in there. What did I say? I said there's strength in numbers. Serie A has zero leverage in the fact that their product is already chasing. It's chasing everybody. It's been trying to recover since 2006, for Christ's sake. Okay. So again, these owners need to band together, and they need to push back, and they need to fight the system. Okay. There are no clear and definitive rules on the whole premise of this whole case. Okay. The books, oh, well, you can't cook. It's fraudulent and whatnot. You'll hear that from a lot of the rival fans. It's fraud. It isn't fraud, because there's no clear and definitive guidelines as to what a player's value is worth. They don't seem to understand that. Here's the funny thing, okay? Juve fucked up in the sense that they had 32 million that wasn't actually tracked and on their documentation, okay? That's where they fucked up. And that's big when you're a publicly traded company. So there is going to be an aftermath for that and for those involved and whatnot. But again, that is not on a sporting level. Registration to Serie A. I can't stress all these points enough. Registration for Serie A. All you have to do to register in Serie A, I finally found it after all this digging, and I told everybody I was going to look into this because nobody could tell me. I was questioning all the big guys. I was like, what does it take to register in Serie A? All I could find was that you have to submit your finances and your documentation, and it all needs to match up. That's essentially it. Okay? If you're tracking losses over a big period of time, I mean, they can look at it and whatnot, but ultimately, if you're not bankrupt, you're in. That's all for Serie A. They do not, and I repeat this, they do not follow FFP regulations like Champions League. So again, it's a fucking joke. It's a joke. All right. But we see what happens. Now, news. Omer, you want to wrap up some of the news today? Maybe I think Quadrado's back in the lineup. Rabiot in the lineup, but he's back on the bench. But take us through the news, Omer.
Yeah, not a lot since the morning, but Quadrado is back with the roster. Rabiot has been approved to play. He'll probably start ahead of Miretti, who was in the projected lineup at first. A lot of rambling from fans about protests. Some are even talking about stopping the game for a whole minute at the 15th minute of the match, and just in protest. The stadium is probably going to be full. I think I saw all the ultras are going to be attending the match. So possibly a lot of noise and a lot of things that are not related to the match itself are going to happen there, which is always interesting. Unfortunately, we are on the receiving end this time. Beyond that, not too much since yesterday, since we had two shows. We had one on Friday, Saturday, and now today. So not a lot has happened in between. Definitely nothing regarding Mercado, but I will point out Antonio Conte will not continue with Tottenham beyond this season, and he said he would like to return to Italy. So keep a note on that. And Fresneda, we probably won't buy him, especially not this January, but another team from Arsenal are interested in him. So they just signed Kiwior from Spezia, and they are going probably
25 mil for someone who's played half a season. Where's the investigation there?
No investigation. And by the way, everyone is delusional if you think your club is just free of innocence and just hasn't done anything wrong. Everyone do it, and just if you fall under the microscope of the prosecutor's office, you will probably get some sort of punishment.
Yeah. It's, and I can't stress this enough, but I hope Juve pushes back. And now all of a sudden, if the Mercado is going to question potential targets and whatnot, there is extreme damage that they're doing from this. Even if we are seen clear at the end of this thing, the damage is done and the damage is set. And this is what Serie A fails to understand, is keeping these things clean, if you're going to be doing them and whatnot, is like of the utmost importance. But we talked about it in the green room, Omer, and to your point, you're spot on when it comes to the system is essentially backwards, in where somebody needs to really prove, and factor in the precedents based on previous cases and everything like that. You have to prove this wrongdoing and guilty and whatnot, but it's backwards. Now it comes to Juve to fight, and it should have been even harder for prosecutors when it's been thrown out multiple times going into this. Instead, this seemed like one of the easiest things and happened so quickly. I'm still taken back, but we'll see what happens. Some fans are optimistic about the appeal and everything like that, but let's see what happens. And let's see once these other clubs get involved, if they can band together and show Serie A what's up. The fans that are canceling subscriptions and everything like that, hey, if there's a big enough number and whatnot, and they start seeing that, and Serie A gets a little pressure maybe from their broadcasters, if they start seeing this, they can't afford it. Like I said, get more teams involved. These owners should all be banding together. The words of Lotito, the words of De Laurentiis and whatnot. Again, I said it from when we first heard those guys back in Juventus. Okay? They have to band together. These guys know. Know.
And what incentive do they have to support Juve? Because they clearly hate us. What incentive do they have except that being afraid for their own fate?
Exactly. But the league itself just can't seem to figure it out. But we see today, Atalanta. Now, with this added pressure, because I talked about it, this is the part that really bothers me about this, is it makes all these points that we have to get so extreme, right? How are you feeling going into this one before? And now do you feel more anxious or nervous about it because of the weight of all these games moving forward, and you guys could talk a bit about Max Allegri's words in the presser too. We talked about that yesterday and whatnot. And we said, man, what a position to be in. And regardless of what anybody thinks of Max, this second year for him and all the stuff that he's had to go through when it comes to just injuries, essentially calling for his head after the Monza game, which I mean, I think we could all agree would have been the time to do it and whatnot. But to get through that, to fight and claw back, get to where you were going into the World Cup break, hit second and right on being able to flip Serie A, and then all of a sudden to this. You got to feel for the guy, but give us your thoughts on how you were feeling before this, going into that Atalanta match, and now, of course, the 15-point deduction. Do you think it's all the same, or do you think now it might be a little bit harder for us? Let's get your thoughts. Omer, why don't you kick us off on this?
Yeah, I'm not overly positive just because I don't feel that we have, the proper leaders to take us through these tough times. And if we had like a Chiellini and a Buffon, guys who know how to motivate the rest and to give them that spirit of let's prove everyone wrong, I would have been more calm. But I don't feel like we have those guys. The past 3 seasons, we've been really weak mentally. Like everything that's happened off the field, even important matches we lost, immediately affected players, and we could see it on the pitch, not only in the dressing room. And possibly the Ronaldo effect, and some players have alluded to it and talked about having a guy of this caliber. You just kind of drift along and you don't push yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But it is a good opportunity to prove otherwise and to show that they do have character and say F you to everyone. And I would like nothing more for Juve to, in spite of all that, make it into the Champions League. And we still have to play everyone in front of us. The first round has just been over. You summed up Max great yesterday, so nothing to add. His words were spot on. Yeah. And Lou said it yesterday, and I agree. He's the kind of guy that would stay and wouldn't jump ship. And as much as I love Antonio Conte and want him back at Juve, if something like that happens when Conte is in charge, he's on the next taxi home. He left Inter because they had to sell Lukaku and Hakimi and didn't have any fines, nothing. And he just left. So Max is the guy you want because he's the guy who's going to stay and give his all in spite of everything.
Yeah. Lucci.
I think Omer nailed it on the head. It'll be very telling to see how this team reacts in this game today. Atalanta is no slouch, so I think this does add a bit of pressure to the leaders, to the players, and either they'll hopefully step up or they might crumble a bit. I guess we'll have to wait and see. We've seen them in situations before where they haven't risen to the task, and I honestly hope today is different. It's tough it'll be tough to see though, to be completely honest. But hey man, I'm all for running the table. Let's go. We still got 19, 20 games, something like that.
18, I think.
18? Yeah. So let's do it, man.
Right at the halfway mark. They are going to have to be, like Max said, extraordinary. I'm looking at some of the comments here, and one coming in from Sal. Should this make us focus on Europa League as our in to Champions League next year? I think you need to go for broke, man. You really got to go for broke. Yeah. We talked about before when everybody was ready to dance on Juve's grave earlier this season with our frustrations and poor play and everything like that. And I said, there's no easier way for a coach to bond a team and band these guys together than when everybody is against you. This adds even more. And we're coming to a period of time where Pogba and Vlahovic are back next week. Get it together. Get it together. And you know what? I don't care. If it's 4-3-3, whatever you decide, if it's 3-4-3 that you want to go with all these guys back in the lineup, whatever, regardless, you guys need to just go to town on this league and start the fucking demolition job. It's us against the world. It always has been, and it always will be. I loved seeing the players, their posts, and everything like that. I want to bring up one topic that's come up, and I want to hear how everybody feels about the live. Georg was with us earlier. I'm not sure if he's still with us. Can't see him in live chat, but credit to him and his post and everything, because Locatelli was just the one quote that he took out of there that was just him, his photo of the Juventus emblem in the stadium and everything. And he said, "This is all great. Actions speak louder than words.
Yep.
Let's see what you do when the Italian national team call-up comes." So I'm going to pose a question to all of you and everybody on the live. What would you expect of the players to do in that situation when the Azzurri make the call? And this is a tough topic. Okay. I don't know which one of you wants to tackle this first. I don't mind going first, but it's a very, very tough one when you're looking at all this.
Yeah, it's hard to really put yourself in those shoes and say, yeah, I would do this and that, because still they are Italians. They grew up Italians before they grew up as Juve fans or became Juve players, and representing your country is something that, out of all the players that are playing in Italy, a select few get the chance to actually do it and reach the highest level. So asking them to now don't do that because the organization is just not good enough, or just giving punishments to your team, it's a lot to ask from
Yeah.
youngsters who don't get, you don't know when you get your next chance. If you ever get it. Like, we saw a lot of players who had like one outings, two outings, and that was it for them. I can call back to Angelo Ogbonna, that when he was at Juve, he got the call up. The minute he left Juve, that was the end of his international career. So it's hard. I think they will go, and I can't fault them for it. Like,
I think, like, not to interrupt or anything, but
no.
I agree with you. It's a tough ask. It's a tough ask. And there were some going to the extreme of Juve should just not allow their players to get. Well, you don't want to do that either, because it's not your choice. If your players get called up, it's their choice. But it goes back to 2006. Okay. For me, what I always said was, while some were crucifying other players for the decisions they made during that time or whatnot, where I actually didn't. I hold no ill will on players that moved and whatnot, because that's a tough ask too. Okay? Because they did nothing. And they're caught in the middle of it. Okay? And I feel the same now. The fact that those guys that stayed back then, okay, we got it on these tees are actually the OGs, okay? And now you start seeing all the posts on Twitter yesterday with everybody that grabbed one of these originally. Really Alta. These are still some of the best. Look, that is huge that those guys did that. But it should not be something expected, because you're talking about their livelihood, their careers, their profession. Like, it's tough. Right now, in this time, you can't ask the players to do that, okay? What I would say would probably be the best is, again, I put it on all the teams, and especially the bigger teams, and maybe not the bigger teams, but the ones that are succeeding now. Okay. Did I take a little dig at Napoli? Yeah. Okay. But it's up to them to, again, band together. So if you do it as all the clubs, and you say, hey, for this next call-up, this game, if it's a friendly, hopefully a friendly, so that the Azzurri don't sacrifice like a qualification game or whatnot, but you say, we're not sending our players either. in protest of what's going on, and you send a message to the FIGC that what's going on is wrong, the league can't afford it and whatnot. And that's another way for like guys like Lotito, De Laurentiis, whatever, to really get together. These guys need to get together. It's time for them to stop trying to cut each other's throat and to actually work together somewhat for the betterment of the entire league and everyone. That I would be behind if everyone got together and said, Roma, Napoli, Juve, Inter, Milan, and they said, no call-ups for our guys for the Azzurri this next match. Sorry.
But that's a tricky thing because some of these clubs have owners who are not Italian and didn't grow up in Italian football.
But they're owners representing a team in the league that is shooting their product that they're a part of in its foot.
Yeah, and that's a credit to the Premier League because we can say whatever we want about them, but the owners do band together against the Football Association there. To achieve what they want and to get they will get on board together. The question isn't that adding more fuel to the fire? No, if it's only Juve saying that and Chiesa and Locatelli saying we're not going to national teams, so it has to be something that's done together with everyone, not only Juve, because then they'll find some more reasons to penalize Juve, and we see law doesn't really matter when it comes to Juve. They can just do whatever they want.
Yeah. Lucci.
Yeah, I agree with Anthony here. I can't see any of the other teams trying to help out Juve and joining together to come up with some solution or idea. I think that's perfectly said. And I don't see anyone turning down a national team call. It's just think the next tournament, if you miss a call up now or refuse one now, like Omer said, you may never get called again. So is that a chance maybe Chiesa or Locatelli are willing to take, even Rovella or Fagioli, whoever it may be? I doubt it, especially so many years left in their career. Do you really want to do that?
That's why I say
it's a big ask.
It's either all or nothing.
Yeah.
And am I expecting those other clubs to do it? No, but it would be the smart thing to do if they really want. What the fuck is going on with this thing? Anyway. I use the force again. It would be the smart thing to do for all of them to band together. But again, do we expect it?
Again, the problem
the whole
is
thing's a mess.
Serie A is run by dinosaurs, by a bunch of nonnos. Half of the owners are still nonnos. Get these guys on the same page to actually move forward and live in, the 21st century is going to be near impossible. And that's why we see the EPL doing so well. The owners, like Omer said, are together. They're making a boatload of money, and they're spending it. Like Chelsea alone, in this month they've spent over 100 million. We can't spend 100 million in a year and a half, 2 years. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, we're getting 70 million contracts that we have to pay out over like 7 years.
Yeah.
Is what it is.
You see it, just no wonder this is where Italy is at.
Yeah.
This is where the Italian team's at and the league's at and how we're viewed across Europe and the footballing world. Because it's just everything is ridiculous, everything is backwards, and they deal with such nonsense all the time. And when they are presented with an issue that they have to solve, they never do it. They do it 30 years later. They issue a documentary and saying how bad things were back then, but they never do it when it actually happens. So I don't expect anything from them, to be honest.
Yeah. Now, again, the funny thing is that they're so quick to crucify teams and whatnot. Again, when there is a massive gray area when you're talking about player transfers and fees. So rather than put rules and regulation, this is the scary part, because you're going to punish a team, potentially 5 more. But what's the actual end result? What stops this from happening down the line? You can't stop it. What are you going to do? Are they going to try and implement rules that you can only sell this player? What is that? How's that going to work in world football, where players are available all over the world to all of these teams?
Yeah.
They are firing at something. Like if this happened in the Prem, it'd be a moot point. It would be nothing. Like you'd hear like minimal about it. It'd be cleaned up. you know what, face a couple fines, whatever. Your books were wrong. That sucks. But ultimately, what we're not going to relegate, one of our top clubs because of it or anything or points. No, we'll just, hey, face the fines, clean it up, get your books right. We move on.
Because they're still making a boatload of money.
Exactly.
That's all that matters.
That's all that matters. That's what it comes down to. You're already not thriving and you want to suffer even more. Wake the fuck up, Serie A. Like, seriously. But again, you can't regulate. So, what do you do? How can football even continue on the way? And I said, like, look, as long as there's money involved, none of this stuff is going to happen. And them punishing teams now for whatever is just shooting themselves in the foot. Nothing is going to happen as long as there's money involved. The only way you get outside of this is if football, and good luck trying to do this in football, okay? Because this happens in other leagues that are smaller. We're talking about 32 teams in leagues. When you're talking about hockey or you're talking about the NFL, okay, players are owned by the teams and they are not sold. They're traded. They only move, okay, if they're free agents and their contracts run out. Otherwise, they are owned by the team. Mm-hmm. Good luck trying to implement that in football, where you have players available to all these federations, all these clubs from all over the world. How on earth do you do that? Because those other leagues run on a draft system too. The only way this cleans up is if you take away the money aspect from it, from the players, and good luck trying to do that. The only way I could even fathom something like that happening is if players put themselves into federations they wanted to join, and then that federation held drafts. Good luck running a draft with that many clubs and systems. So I don't see football ever changing as long as there is money involved in the players. And it would take major, major reform to get away from it. So Italy needs to wake up because they're fighting something that simply can't change. That's how I feel. Now, Atalanta Juve today. Let's get to the goods. We have a game today, everybody.
I almost don't care. Almost.
Take it easy. No. Hey, reminder, everybody, watch along today. Hopefully see all you out there, share the reactions. I'm going to be extra fired up for every single game now, okay? All right. I feel like I'm going to be using the trademark te a lot. Probably going to be the new goal Selly for the rest of the season, okay? But let's get to it. So the odds of this one, Juve Atalanta. Juve favorites in this one, okay? Wow. So Juve pays just over 2 times your money. If Atalanta wins, it pays almost 3.5 times your money. And a draw, 3.25. 3.25 to 1, all right? Atalanta, 3 wins in their last outings. One of those was the Coppa Italia. In their last 2 games, bagging 13 goals. They've been struggling for goals, which has not been their trademark over the past few seasons. But now, all of a sudden, in a couple games, they bagged them. Granted, weaker sides, but nonetheless, maybe getting back into a rhythm or whatnot. But again, momentum's on their side. Juve, yet again this season, facing adversity and controversy. So we see what happens. Juve coming off that Monza victory with the Chiesa winner. Chiesa not slated to start in this one. Okay. The one thing with Atalanta, I will say this, even if they're scoring a bunch in their past few games, they do allow a lot. They do allow a lot of opportunities. There should be opportunities for Juventus, quite a few to take advantage of. Atalanta reported going to be without Zapata and Coop Miners. Okay. Huge. So that's going to be big for Juventus. We'll see if anything changes there, but I don't think either one's going to be in there. Juve, we got Rabiot, who's expected to start. Quadrado back. He's on the bench next week for Vlahovic and Pogba. The lineups, the last one I've seen, Szczesny in goal, Danilo, Bremer, Sandro, McKennie as right wing back again, Fagioli, Locatelli, and Rabiot. I think that's our best midfield 3. And then you've got Kostic as your left wing back, Di Maria will play just ahead of the midfield three behind Arkadiusz Milik. Now, what do you guys expect? How do you think this one's going to go? Not with getting into predictions or anything, but what do you think of the lineup? What do you think about Atalanta? Is it just weaker opponents? How do you see this one going? Your thoughts. Kick us off, either one of you. Let's go.
Go ahead, Omer.
Look, Atalanta are on fire right now. Yeah, some of their players are looking great. Coop Miners is out. That's a big thing. Zapata has been out for a while, and that little, I don't know what it is, Norwegian or something kid is killing it so far. They did struggle prior to that run of form. It's not the Atalanta we know, but still, they attack. I expect them to hold a lot more of the ball than us, have more chances, but a bit leaky at the back, and we have to take advantage of that. And that's why I would hope Keane might start and not Milik. He's better for the counter-attacking game. But honestly, I don't expect anything different from what we've seen since January started, since the World Cup ended. And most of the same, some chances, 1 or 2 goals, and sitting back for a large period of the match, hoping not to concede. If we don't concede and we make it to like the 60th minute, then the game, as usually happens, flips and Juve take more control in those minutes. But we have played like 3 days ago, tons of youngsters, so the guys have rested. Atalanta also played, and they have played with their stronger 11, not like we played. So I don't know. It's mostly a mentality thing for me, and see how the team reacts to everything that's happening backstage.
Yeah. Lucci.
Yeah, I think Omer nailed it again. My concern is always going to be that right side. We'll see what McKennie can do as the wing back once again. We need, unfortunately, now with all these accusations, it doesn't look like we'll be fixing that right side this January. So we'll have to deal with it for the rest of the season. But yeah, Lookman's looked good. I know a couple guys mentioned that in the chat. Yeah. But other than that, like, this team's beatable. I think, honestly, if we play to our potential, I think every team's beatable. The question is, we just don't know which, like Omer said, we don't know which team's going to show up. The mentality is going to be, it's going to be big in this one. Can they, forget what happened a couple of days ago and play together like a team and show that we mean business, boys. Let's stop talking, put our head down, and do some work.
That's right. And it's moments like these that separate the boys from the men there. And Max Allegri put it best. We need men in these times. And man, it's just like it was such a small and little statement and whatnot. But man, that was the first time he hit everything on the money for me, Max Allegri. And yeah, if you're looking at everything overall, that's probably the right guy for this moment in time. And despite whatever we want to say, everybody knows where I stand in terms of like tactics and the press and all this and whatnot. But man, it's he's the right guy. It's up to the players now to do their part and everything. And we will see if some of these guys coming back, especially next week, what kind of impact they have to the group overall. And again, it's not a given that we stay in this 3-4-1-1, if you want to call it 3-5-2, right? It's not a given that we stay in it. Okay, 3-5-1-1, sorry, or 3-5-2. My eyes are going to be on Bremer today. After that piss poor showing in his last outing, I think it's a one-off, but I expect a statement game from him, redeeming himself and showing what he's all about, like he has in all his other appearances. So I'm expecting a statement game from Bremer. So being wary of their attack still through Lookman and whatnot, overall, I think Danilo, Bremer, and Sandro have been strong for the most part together as a unit. I expect them to get that, but I'm really going to have eyes on Bremer in this. McKennie on the right wing back, again, I said it. He's less lost out there when he's on his right wing back. It's a much more straightforward game for him, and it helps him. It's serviceable in the time being until we get Juan back. But when you play him in the midfield, I'm sorry, McKennie's all over the place positionally. It's like maybe the instructions and the directions are too much almost, which seems odd to me. I feel like maybe there's not enough because we like to freewheel offensively. Max has always said that. He lets the players do it. Maybe that's why positionally it's such a mess with McKennie when he's playing out of the midfield. The right wing back role, much more straightforward for him. Seems to be helping him. He's doing his part. But my God, we're not seriously talking about keeping Mac out there even when Quad's back, are we?
No,
I don't think so. Come on,
Yeah.
Quadrado
Is there an option for none of the above? I'd like to take that one.
No, come on. Quadrado is like Max's favorite boy after Deschilio. God knows why. What's happening with Deschilio, by the way? Is he still alive?
Is he still alive?
Man,
I
that
don't
has
know.
got to be one of the worst hangnails ever. So,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. Like, never heard
Yeah,
about
like-
the injury or anything. It's just like he's out, and it's like
Yeah,
vacation time, man. It's been forever. I don't know.
Yeah, to be fair, Juve have never posted anything about the return dates of anyone because we're mostly getting pumped through media like Vlahovic and Pogba will be back to Atalanta, even to Monza maybe, but Juve hasn't issued anything. So credit to them. Maybe just the media is making it up to get some headlines. But like you said, the right wing back role for McKennie is a lot more straightforward. Just go up when we attack and come back down when we defend. That's the most of it. Like you don't have to do a lot more. Fagioli on his side helps him.
Yep.
When Fagioli plays next to him in the right midfield area, do we have men on the team? It's a hard
Do
question.
we have men on the team? Well, I tell you what,
we have a lot of
they
kids.
are going to be put to the metal. They're going to be tested.
We'll find out
Look,
today.
A lot of players became better because of everything that happened in 06. Like Chiellini is probably a different player without that banter. Marquisio also, some lived up to it, some didn't. Jovinko didn't live up to it.
Hey,
And
TFC
I
legend, watch it.
no, I like him, but come on. Look how Bernardeschi is doing. He's suddenly prime Pele.
Love it.
This
Anyway,
season
sure
could
you do.
be the purge for Juve. It just could be the purge, you know?
Yeah.
Board, management team, fans, and players. If you're not into it and you're not with it through thick and thin, there's the door. Straight up.
Yeah, that's a great opportunity to make like a 180 and everything that happened so far, scratch that, starting off new. I would love to just start off by changing the logo and getting the ultras back. That will be the first step to just getting all the fans on board with the club's vision. And then we have the expiring contracts. We all know who's leaving, who's staying. We can guess who. We can take guesses actually if you want. Vlahovic staying has been a big issue. I think you talked about it yesterday. But then he had that post, that signal that he is going to stay. I think most of these players will come out better because of this period we're having.
Yeah.
Well, when it comes to Vlahovic, I think the actions will speak louder than words. We'll see. I'm not going to get my hopes up on him just yet.
Yeah.
When it comes to like the leaders and kind of the whole situation we've been through, even from a couple months ago when all the board, stepped down, whatever, I think Danilo and Locatelli have really stepped up in that position.
Yeah.
They've kind of
absolutely
said the right things, done the right things, shown it on the pitch, for the most part. We'll see if anyone else does that. I really want to see what Pogba's all about when he comes back. He's been pretty quiet about all this, and I think that's a little interesting, to be honest. Not to pinpoint Pogba,
shackled.
but
I think he's a bit shackled. Like, I don't know if he has any other option. He just signed a 4-year contract. It will take a lot to let him go.
He's talking about how much he loves the club and he wanted to come back.
Everything we've heard from Pogba, like behind the scenes, is that he's like raring to go at the trainings, all this. Like, and that it's actually killing him that he can't, he can't assist anybody and he can't like get in there and actually be a part of it all. So I'm gonna wait again until I'm gonna judge this guy when he's on the pitch for Juve.
Yeah.
That's what I'm gonna do, and hopefully it's soon. He's a week away, whatnot. I still say there's no way this guy doesn't have a big impact when he plays. The rest, we're just gonna have to wait and see. Injury prone, all this, and he's only gonna be around for a bit. Well, let's wait and see, right? But there's no doubt about it. When he's on his game, he's one of the elites. Okay, and you can't deny the guy's ability when he's out there and he's on and he's into it. I think he's into it. I think he's into this Juve thing and coming back here and whatnot. And let's wait until he gets on there competitively on the pitch and see what happens. Vlahovic, for me, again, let's see what happens when Bayern comes knocking and some of these clubs, and then we'll see where Vlahovic actually stands. But for me, if it happens, it happens, and that goes as far as any of the players.
I think
we move
I'd put
on.
Bremer in there too with Vlahovic. To be honest, I think those would be the two that I would see leaving.
Bremer for me is, he's that one I can't. It's tough because you don't hear a lot of it, right? So with Vlahovic, it could be obviously hurting our judgment or whatever, or maybe leaning us a certain way because we've been hearing about rumblings of potentially not being happy and everything like that. So it makes you automatically maybe tie that more. With Bremer, you don't really hear a whole lot of anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's just this guy that's an absolute unit that we stole. He left a pretty much a done deal for Inter to come and join us. I'm not so sure he leaves, to be honest.
But if it does, can you actually blame him? Like, he just signed. It's the first season, and look what happens.
Yeah.
Well, this is the thing. This is the thing. It goes back to earlier, Omer, when I said 06. It's a tough ask when these guys are sacrificing career years and all this out of their profession for something they've done nothing for, right? They're not getting bounced from Europe because of their play. It would be a penalty and a deduction to the team, regardless if it's nonsense or all that, whatever, still a gray area. It is not their fault. It's very, very hard to put a player on fault if they decide to.
And it also depends on the final verdict, like what will be the outcome of the entire investigation and court appeals, which should go on for a long while. It doesn't mean anything will happen in April. It can go on to next season. So I wouldn't blame him if he chose to leave. You
can't really blame anyone.
No. Yeah. This is also, too, I want to clarify, not rumblings around transfers, Animesh. I'm talking about the rumblings about being unhappy. That's kind of the rumblings that we were getting for a bit there, that early. Not the rumblings about transfers. You're always going to get transfer rumblings, but just the ones of being unsatisfied, basically, which I find funny because he's been out for a while. But regardless, Luca says Bremer is silent, which is good. No media nonsense, just actions. Yeah, it's hard to read those guys too.
Yeah. There are guys that are just not into it, not into the whole media circus, posting all the time. They do it because they have to. But Nedved as a player, if he was a player today, do you think, according to his character, he'll be all out in social media, talking, posting, and creating rumblings? Some guys just don't like it. They're into playing football.
Yeah. What do you guys think about Dom here saying you put Conte as coach with Vlahovic and he'll take his game next level? Exactly what he did with Lukaku.
I mean, not only Lukaku, he did it with a whole bunch of attackers. He made Graziano Pelle and Eder look like champions when playing for Italy.
Yeah, even Harry Kane is having like his best years.
Yeah.
He might.
I think. I don't know if I really want Conte back. We've been there and done that.
I don't, for the sake of stop trying to recreate the past, but I mean,
exactly.
His instant stimulus to a team is
That's a good
Undoubtedly,
shout, though,
really.
Dom. I think you're right about that. I would agree.
Yeah. I would have to say I think Vlahovic would thrive under Conte, but again, I don't think we have to go that route. Predictions. Let's get to predictions. Who wants to kick us off on the predictions for this one? I'm going to remind everybody it's your final score, and then we get to 2 tiebreakers. And I believe Jeremiah was quick to the trigger with predictions. He was 3-2 for Juventus. He's calling Fagioli, Keane, and Milik as your goal scorers. And he's going 15 attempts with 7 on target.
15 for Juve?
15 total attempts, 7 on target. Now, he kicked us off.
Yeah. Okay, I'll go first.
Yeah, go ahead, Omer.
This time I'll go with what I hope will happen. I hope the team will rise to the occasion and get the win. I think 2-1. I am calling the 2 guys who scored to kiss the badge and do like that. I'm staying here.
I like it.
And yeah, that will be a good time for that statement. I think we're going to have like 40-60 possession split for Juve, because this is Atalanta. And we are going to concede through our very own Mary Demiral, the ex-Juve.
Oh,
That's an easy bet on an expert scoring against
No, you're
Juve.
not wrong. Yeah, we always get torched.
Sturaro did it. Sturaro, that guy.
Yeah. And people are
Couldn't
worried
hit
that
him.
he's not worth 20 million. You scored a banger against us. 20 million.
what
Couldn't
do
Right
you
there.
got coming in
hit
here?
water
Rainbow coming
if
in
he
here
fell
with
off a
1-0
boat.
Juve, 12 attempts, 5 on target. Milik scoring. Luca's
Interesting.
got 2-2.
Yeah,
Keane
okay,
and Kostic
Luca.
goals, 7 attempts on target for Juve. Hate to say it, 1-1 draw coming from Domby. Dells dropping the 2-1 Atalanta, unfortunately. Lucci, you're up.
Jeez. I'm kind of between Dom and Dells right now, but I'm going to go 1-1. I think we're going to pull out a point. I'd love to see a win, but anyways, 1-1. Goal scorer will be Di Maria, because he's going to do something at some point. And first yellow card will be Alexandro in like the 34th
Sandro,
minute.
first card. Wow.
34th minute.
Wow.
He's a lock for a card. Jeez. I think I got better pace than him.
Di Maria,
He's better,
I've got a lot of messages like through WhatsApp on guys that are just like Di Maria is junk. We should have never signed this guy. Like all this, like he hasn't been bad, but he's playing completely out of where he should be.
Yes.
And he still hasn't been bad. And I'm like, why are we complaining so much about Di Maria? I'm like, he's here for 1 season and then he's gone. Like it's a moot point. Like it is what it is. But like he's a good player. His big game record speaks for itself. But like you got to use him right. And I can't help but feel every time I see him, like we're just putting him in these scenarios.
3-5-1-1 is killing our wingers, man.
We can't expect every player who comes in to act like he grew in the youth system of the club. He's here to play. He's here to make money. He does play well. He does do his job. I don't think it's through any fault of his own that he ain't performing that well. Also, he's been dealt a pretty rough
3-1 to Atalanta, sadly.
Oof.
Keane only scored. YFG 3-1 to Juventus. Only midfielders will score for Juventus. Lookman for Atalanta. One red card for Atalanta.
Demiral.
First yellow goes to Juve. Wow. Mm-hmm. I'm behind it. Let's see a red card. Let's see 3 goals from Juve. What is my prediction? 2-2 draw. 2-2 draw for Atalanta and Juve today. I hope that I'm incorrect and Juve can pull it out, but I don't know. Our record against Atalanta in Turin is strong, though. Like, it's strong. There's a lot of turmoil here. Get together. I like our midfield today.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the best balanced midfield we have. Kostic has had a couple bad ones there.
He hasn't been great since the after the World Cup, to be fair.
Yeah. Di
Give me
Maria's
Illing
in there.
Jr. Let's
Milik's
go.
up top. Milik was invisible last time out, but 2-1. 2-1 Juve.
Okay.
Omar, sorry,
always.
buddy. I'm with you.
As always. No, I'm just
Oh, come
Just-
on. Look.
more of the same. Nothing new.
You want me
under
to
the
throw an
sun.
extra one in there and go 3-1? I actually think it's going to be. I think Juve will
No,
top on
do,
the 2 goals.
do whatever you want. Just don't nag me when Joe is picking my predictions. As
Man,
well.
should I go clean sheet?
I mean,
Clean
that-
sheet?
I think
Atalanta?
after allowing 5, the boys should be fired up to get a clean sheet today. For God's
I
sake.
honestly do think it's going to be 2-2. So I'm going with the 2-2 draw. Luca, shut the hell up and go get a Snickers or something, okay?
back to bed,
Unbelievable.
Luca.
A kid your age should be happier, man. Smarten up.
He's
before
a
I
cranky
smack
guy.
you.
At
Now,
22.
2-2. I'm going to say that there will be a red card in this game.
It'll
So
be
I will
for
say
Juve.
red card. One red card in today's game. And Milik and Rabiot for goal
Oh.
scorers.
Ooh.
Milik and Rabiot getting one today. All right. There you go, everybody. Again, I'm going to remind you guys are awesome. Like the video, okay? If you're new here, subscribe to the channel. Especially if you are a diehard Juve fan, this is the channel for you, okay? We don't hold anything back. Yesterday, I got very, very heated. Anth was quick to the clips and whatnot. And, yeah, I was having some interesting discussions, to say the least. It's a frustrating place out there right now because you have a lot of people that know nothing of the details. They don't know the history, the precedent that's been set, and it's frustrating to try and have discussions with them. You know what? Stay out of it. Keep it clean. Stick to the Juventini. It's time for us to realize, always has been, I've always said it. Now I start seeing a lot of people echoing my words. Always been Juve against the world. All right. Storm the barn. We have a little bit of time. Let's get to a few Storm the Barns. Jeremiah wasted no time. This Juve can still function without Dusan. So, do we really need him next season? Why not cash in if an offer of 80 million comes in? In my opinion, Rabiot and Fagioli are far more essential than Dusan.
I'm starting to feel like Jeremiah has something against Dusan.
What's that?
I'm thinking Jeremiah has something against Dusan, which is fine. You don't have to like every player. Juve can still function. Yeah, like my grandma can function without her walking stick, but it's better with it.
Let's stick to the part where are Rabiot and Fagioli much more essential than Vlahovic to Juventus?
No. I mean, we can't
How can you
honestly
say?
say it.
Yeah.
Fagioli has been introduced into how many Serie A matches for Juve? 5, 6. Rabiot clearly not interested in staying. So are they really? I mean, Fagioli can definitely be. We also done okay without Rabiot. Sort of okay. We also done bad with Rabiot. Like, don't let the past 6 months detract you from the previous 3 seasons. Fagioli, yeah. Rabiot, I don't think so. And look, we can function without a lot of players, but if they're good, we want them on the team. We want competition, don't we? Or look at Sandro without competition and how he has
He
deteriorated.
sucks, period.
Here's the thing. It's tough to say who is most essential when we found some rhythm while Vlahovic was out. I still say, since we switched to the 3-5-1-1, 3-5-2, whatever you want to call it, we haven't seen Vlahovic in there with the most balanced midfield we've had. And since we've been creating more opportunities than we were before Vlahovic got hurt. So I can't really say until you put him into that mix and see if all of a sudden now his production also climbs up. because then all of a sudden he becomes the more essential piece. For me, a profile like Rabiot's, and this is not a knock to Rabiot in any way, shape, or form, because he's had a great season for us this season. I don't see a profile like that being as hard to replace if you're just looking about a big physical midfielder that's got good energy. Like you can find a lot of those midfielders.
You have one out on loan still, realistically.
Yeah. So I think that is hard to make it super essential based on his play this year. Sure. But I think that's a lot easier to find than a guy with the ceiling of Vlahovic. If Vlahovic hits it or whatnot, and if he can do it with us, of course, that's a question that's you got to ask and everything. But if an offer comes in, a big offer, it's really hard to say until we see him with us playing our best.
What's big, though? Like, what do you consider big? I mean,
like,
someone just said it here.
If we're talking 90, 100 million or whatnot.
Well, Anish said it perfectly. Mudryk, who's played in Ukraine, just went for 100. We've already spent 70, 75 on Vlahovic. If he's going, it's got to be for 110 plus.
Yeah.
Period.
Based on what the market's done and everything.
Experience, like he's played at tougher competition compared to this, Mudryk who played in Ukraine. How can you reasonably pay Shakhtar 100 million for this guy?
Yeah, and most of the time he played, there was a war there and they didn't play.
There you go.
I'm just talking in general, big offer. Okay, not 80 because 80's not going to be the big offer.
No, it had to be 100 at least.
You'd probably entertain it, but again, it's hard to really say if that's a right move until I need to see him play with our best lineup, playing the best ball we have so far this season to see what actually happens. He could easily flip it.
And without injury, I mean, he's been playing injured for quite a while.
And he was playing without Pogba, Chiesa, Di Maria. Like, the list goes on.
Hey, I get it, guys. I get it. I'm telling you.
No.
I think we're on the same page here, guys.
Yeah, let's continue.
Watch along will make this match bearable. Commentators will boil the blood today. Absolutely. Let me replace it. Everybody watch along. I'll probably kick off 2:30 Eastern time. That gives us about 10 or 15 minutes before actual kickoff. All right. So hope to see you all there. Storm the Barn from Vito, Zidane, Conte, Allegri. Who do you think takes the helm next season? To be honest, obviously I put that bet out there that I did not see Allegri being our coach next season. That was before all the events that have taken place. So I probably am going to be giving out 10 kits at the start of next season out for subscribers. So I don't know if I see a Zidane or even a Conte coming in, depending on what comes through all of this. And to be honest,
I don't think we have the money still to pay any of these the other two.
Well, again, there's way too much question marks. I think right now all signs are pointing to Max staying.
Yeah.
So,
I will add, we have discussed it. I said that out of the three, Zidane would be the most interesting. I would want to see. There are tons of factors here. Like, if Allegri somehow manages to pull a top four finish after everything we've been through this season, he's not going anywhere. There were rumors about a clause in his contract that if he doesn't make top four, regardless the situation, then his contract is void and we don't have to keep him for 2 more years. So
listen,
that's a big salary off.
If that happens, Conte. I will personally write Allegri an apology letter.
Yeah,
essay style and everything.
If he somehow manages to pull through, that would be impressive.
That would be massive. I mean, let's talk about. By the way, this comment's great. We can't sell Vlahovic for plus Valenza. We'll just be deducted points. I love it. So we're sitting 10th, 11th on 22 points.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So again,
a win today gets us to 9th point above Fiorentina.
Like it's doable. I think with this many games left, I think it's doable. It's not going to be easy by any means.
It's possible.
So win today puts us 2 points ahead of Fiorentina, 9th place again. you'd be barring what happened. Well, we would be 9 points back of Atalanta, currently in 5th spot, and Lazio 4th place with so I mean, it's doable. It's doable. If he somehow got us back in there, I tell you what, man.
I mean,
got to stay.
Everyone still have to play against everyone. We still have to play against all those teams that are ahead of us.
yes. And the thing, so let's say this 15 does get reduced to 9.
There's also the threat that
make
it could increase. We could get more point deduction. That's also still in play.
Okay, let's try to be somewhat positive today, boys.
I get it, but I'm just saying.
I mean, if let's say it gets reduced to 9, like that would make a huge difference.
But apparently there is no reduction that they can even appeal. Like it's either it's going away or it's staying at 15. And then you factor in the FIGC case on the salary maneuvers and stuff. There's the potential for more, right? But it's either 15 or it's nothing. So again, that's why I said earlier, how confident are you in these appeals and it being wiped away? I really don't feel confident based on the fact of how quick this went down and escalated to a point where it's a point penalty during a season that's currently being played when the precedent set before that was always fine. So I can't help but feel that way, everybody. It sucks. But if Max pulls out this and does find a way to get us back into the European, I mean, it might not matter again because UEFA's got their own investigation, but that would be something incredible, to be honest. Incredible.
I will say this for that. If we, by some divine miracle, make it to the end of the season, finishing like 6th or 7th, and then we win our case and get the 15 points back and knock one of these teams out of the top 4, that would be like, I hate it. Yeah, I would probably run laps naked around my house. Possibly.
Screaming at birds.
Trying to.
Listen, it would be crazy. Let's see what happens. This thing is far from over, and Serie A is just going to make a mess of it and continue to make a mess of it. It's laughable. Is what it is, everybody. Nothing changes for us. Hey, we're not going anywhere through thick and thin. I've been seeing all sorts of things when it comes to comments from not just rival, but like Juventini as well, and ready to abandon everything and calling out for accountability and stuff like that. And I can't stress this enough. And this is the part that frustrates me the most again. It's just coming back to simple precedent. It's always been fines.
Mm-hmm.
And now all of a sudden it's points in the middle of a championship. And you're saying that the appeal, all this needs to wait until April. So you're going to throw all this on a team mid-championship. And now all of a sudden you're going to get the league leaders involved mid-championship. And we're going to have all this going through this entire season with all this on players' minds, coaches' minds, and everything. It's nonsense. Serie A, wake the fuck up. I finish on that note. As far as today goes, let's see what the lads can do and the team can do. They came back from some crazy adversity earlier on, and now we have even more. And one thing is for sure, these guys are being put to the test and through the ringer. On a good season, okay, where we don't have nonsense to we always have nonsense to deal with at Juve. It is the way it is. But again, on a good season at Juve, it's tough to bear those stripes. The pressure is incredible that's demanded of them from fans, from management. There's a lot of weight to carry that shirt. And now it's increased exponentially. So we see today the reaction. I hope it goes the way we all want it to go, but let's see. Dom, 2:45 p.m. today Eastern time. Redemption begins. Let's see.
One last note: happy birthday to Momo Sissoko.
Momo.
It's a throwback.
Yeah,
A bright
the
spot in a dark time was Momo, man.
yeah,
I loved.
I like him. I like
love
that
Momo.
guy.
I must send that guy weekly messages on Instagram to just come on the show once. Just always try with Momo. Love
It
Momo.
feels doable. It feels like he might accept if we push hard enough.
Oh yeah, yeah. Momo's the guy, and Mirko tipped me on to Momo, and he says, "Hey, let's give him a shot. Give him a shot," because he says he's more than likely might take you up. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully one day. But everybody, redemption today. Aguri, Momo. Let's do it for Momo. Okay, let's do it for all the Juventini out there. Let's do it to send another day to Serie A. Okay,
And let's
2:45
remind,
Eastern. We see you there at the watch along.
yeah, and let's remind everyone: Friday, Romeo Agresti, get your questions in. It's a big show, especially with everything happening right now. Get your questions in. We'll try to reach everyone and ask him everything. Big
Man,
show.
something about getting these journalists on the All Juve cast, that something always happens. We had the last time we had Mirko Di Natale on, it was like the day after Ronaldo was gone. And like, yeah, he's leaving. And it's like now you get we confirm things with Romeo, and all of a sudden, boom, 15-point deduction. I'm like, man, you are gonna
Maybe
get bombarded. And he's like, it is what
maybe
it
that's
is.
the
It is what
thing.
it is.
Maybe that's
We
the
gotta
thing.
stop
Maybe we
having
should
them on
stop,
then.
yeah, inviting them. Maybe you will go out cruising.
Yeah, we need some good
once
luck,
we
man.
start.
I don't know, man. Who's gonna be the guest that flips it around? Like, we'll see. Maybe when Romeo does make his debut and whatnot, it turns things around. We'll
think we
see.
gotta
We'll
get
see what
an
happens.
EP on
But,
here.
We're aiming for Luciano Moggi next.
oh man, Moji. Maybe J Medical finally burns down to the ground if he comes on. We'll see what happens. There is a player from the mid '90s era again. I'm working on it, and I'm hoping we can get him on. Okay, and it's tough. It's a tough grind out there, but let's see what happens. We'll start with Romeo Agresti. Romeo Agresti is going to be a fantastic guest, and hey, there's going to be no shortage of questions. Once people heard the announcement, I started getting messages like crazy about, hey, ask this, ask that, ask that. Hey, I can't even tell you what I had for breakfast yesterday, okay? So make sure you join us on the live channel and get them in directly, okay? It's not often that you get that opportunity. So, hey, let's do the best at it, and let's show him some love and how we welcome him to the AJC. And I know I can trust you guys because the AJC Army is the best out there. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. God damn you, camera. Forza Juve, Fino alla fine. Let's see you at the watch along, all right? Ciao tutti, and let's wait for that redemption today. Let's go. Let's go.